Judith Maria and welcome to SC Global News. From the Pakistani origin father's son identified as gunman behind the deadly Bondi Beach mass shooting in Australia to Mexico's reenactment of Passion, Death and Resurrection of Jesus recognized as cultural heritage of humanity by UNESCO, we have many stories to cover. A father-son duo of Pakistani origin carried out a deadly attack at a Jewish Hanukkah celebration at Sydney's Bondi Beach, killing several and injuring at least 42 others. The father, Sajid Akram, was shot dead by police, while his 24-year-old son, Naved Akram, was wounded and hospitalized. Authorities are investigating a possible terror motive amid concerns that recent anti-Semitic incidents in Australia have been linked to the rising tensions over Israel-Gaza conflict.
Local police on Monday confirmed that the perpetrators behind the massacre at a Jewish celebration at Sydney's Bondi Beach were a father-son duo of Pakistani origin. New South Wales Police Commissioner Malanion said the father Sajid Akram was fatally shot by police while his 24-year-old son Naveed was wounded and is receiving treatment in hospital. Australian Home Minister Tony Burke said the father arrived in Australia from Pakistan in 1998 on a student visa, which was later converted to a partner visa in 2001. According to CBS News, US intelligence officials were briefed by Australian authorities and have begun examining a possible terror motive behind the attack. The violence erupted during a Jewish cultural event at Bondi Beach where thousands had gathered to mark the Jewish festival of Chanukah. Witnesses said the attack lasted around 10 minutes and reported hearing the attackers shout Allahu Akbar as they opened fire. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns said those killed ranged in age from 10 to 87, with at least 42 others sliced by Monday morning. Sunday's shooting is the deadliest in a series of anti-Semitic attacks targeting synagogues, buildings and vehicles across Australia since the outbreak of the Israel-Gaza war in October 2023. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he had previously warned Prime Minister Anthony Albanese that Australia's support for Palestinian statehood could contribute to rising anti-Semitism.
Australia is mourning after a deadly anti-Semitic shooting at a Hanukkah celebration near Sydney's Bondi Beach, which left 16 people dead and dozens injured. Police say the alleged attackers were a father and son, and the attackers triggered nationwide grief, heightened security, and strong condemnation from Australian and global leaders. A shooting at a Jewish Hanukkah celebration near Sydney's Bondi Beach killed 16 people and injured at least 40 others on Sunday evening, police said on Monday. The attack struck a small park near the beach where about 1,000 people had gathered to mark the religious festival, according to authorities cited by Reuters. Local media identified the alleged gunman as a 50-year-old father who died at the scene and his 24-year-old son who remains in critical condition in hospital. Police said they were treating the assault as a targeted anti-Semitic attack. Authorities added that the father was a licensed firearm owner with multiple weapons. Witnesses said the shooting lasted about 10 minutes, triggering panic as families and worshippers fled the celebration and the surrounding beach area. Police said 2 officers were injured during the response and remained in serious but stable conditions. Officials praised a bystander who tackled and disarmed one attacker, saying his actions helped prevent further loss of life. The fundraising campaign launched in his support attracted widespread public backing, Reuters reported. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese described the violence as an act of terrorism and anti-Semitism and said authorities were supporting the Jewish communities nationwide. Officials said world leaders expressed condolences as authorities tightened security at Jewish events worldwide. Police said mass shootings are rare in Australia and described the attack as the country's deadliest since 1996. Authorities investigating a deadly shooting at Brown University said a man held as a person of interest will be released as the probe shifts direction. The attack killed 2 students and injured 9 others, shaking the Ivy League campus. Officials said the search for the suspect continues with security remaining heightened.
A man held as a person of interest in Brown University shooting is due to be released late Sunday, authorities reported. The attack killed 2 students and injured 9 others. It occurred inside an engineering and physics building on Saturday during exams, according to officials cited by Reuters. Providence police verified the man in his 20s had earlier been taken into custody following the attack. City and state authorities later noted they redirected the investigation and are not pursuing charges at this stage. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Noronha told reporters that investigators have not yet solved the case. He added that investigators remain confident they will identify the suspect. Sources indicated surveillance footage showed an unidentified individual believed to be the shooter who fled the scene after opening fire in a classroom. FBI officials explained they used cellular geolocation data to track leads in the investigation, according to Reuters. Officials affirmed that 7 of the injured victims are in stable condition. 1 patient remains in critical but stable condition, while another has been discharged from the hospital. Shelter-in-place orders were lifted on Sunday, although a visible police presence remained across the city. Brown University officials acknowledged most victims were students and described the shooting as a devastating moment for the campus community. The university suspended exams and classes for the rest of the year as the campus mourned the victims.
A Hong Kong court has convicted media tycoon Jimmy Lai, a prominent critic of China, of sedition and collusion with foreign forces. The ruling comes in a landmark case under the Beijing-imposed national security law. Lai now awaits sentencing with potential penalties including life imprisonment. The trial was overseen by a panel of 3 government-approved judges and was conducted without a jury. Jimmy Lai, former Hong Kong media mogul and devout Catholic, has been found guilty of sedition and collusion in a landmark national security case. Lai was charged in 2020 for using his independent media outlet to produce seditious materials against Hong Kong and China and colluding with foreign forces to endanger national security. Supporters of Lai, including United States and United Kingdom, say that these charges are politically motivated and the case was designed to silence one of the region's most prominent pro-democracy activist. In delivering the verdict, Judge Esther To told the court that Lai had carried a hatred and resentment toward the People's Republic of China for many of his adult years. Lai's case has emerged as the most prominent example of Beijing's tightening control over rights and freedoms in Hong Kong following the implementation of a broad national security law after the mass pro-democracy protests of 2019. He will now await sentencing, facing charges that could carry a potential life prison term. At the time of his arrest, Lai was charged with using the Apple Daily platform to collaborate with 6 former executives and others in producing seditious publications from April 2019 to June 2021, as well as conspiring with foreign forces between July 2020 and June 2021. Judge Todt further stated that there was a clear and undeniable evidence that Lai conspired with others, including his Apple Daily staff, to undermine national security. The trial was conducted by a panel of 3 government-approved judges without the involvement of a jury. Both the Chinese and Hong Kong authorities maintained that Lai received a fair trial. The outcome of the case is being viewed as a key test of China's diplomatic relations with nations such as the United States and United Kingdom. China on Monday said that it was strongly dissatisfied and firmly opposes the smears and slanders targeting Hong Kong's judicial system. China's foreign ministry did not name any country but said it urged the relevant countries to respect China's sovereignty and Hong Kong's legal system. Chile has elected conservative leader Jose Antonio Cast as president, marking a decisive rightward shift and the end of a left-wing rule driven by voter concerns over crime, immigration and economic stability. Jose's campaign, emphasizing law and order, border control and the protection of family values, resonated with citizens seeking social cohesion and predictability after years of unrest.
Chile has elected Jose Antonio Cast, leader of the Republican Party, as its next president, securing 58% of the vote in Sunday's presidential runoff against left-wing candidate Jeanette Jara. Cast's victory marks the country's most significant shift to the right since the return to democracy in 1990, reflecting widespread public desire for stability and a renewed emphasis on traditional values. Cast's campaign focused on public safety and immigration, promising stricter border controls and policies aimed at protecting communities and promoting social cohesion. He also proposed building border walls and creating a specialized police force inspired by models like the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement to monitor and deport individuals living in the country illegally. A devout Catholic, Cast incorporated pro-life principles into his campaign, expressing opposition to abortion and proposing restrictions on the sale of emergency contraceptives. In his victory, Cast thanked voters and described his win as a collective mandate for stability, security, and ethical leadership. His election signals a new chapter in Chilean politics, emphasizing safety, family values, and the defense of life, while marking a clear move away from the progressive policies pursued under the previous left-wing administration.
The military authorities in Myanmar has ordered Christian communities in Kachin state to hold Christmas celebrations early, citing upcoming elections later this month. Churches in several towns have compiled amid fears of arrest as right groups want the move signals escalating religious repression under the junta.
Military authorities in Myanmar's Kachin state have instructed Christian communities to observe Christmas celebrations before December the 20th. According to Premier Christian News, the directive was issued to churches in Maitkina, Putao, and Tanai, affecting congregations preparing for the Christian festival. Local sources said churches complied out of fear of arrest for allegedly disobeying government orders. A Christian resident in Tanai was quoted by Kachin News as described the move as religious repression, saying Christians had never faced such interference in celebrating their holiest festival. The move comes amid growing concerns over religious freedom following reports that Reverend Pao Muan Lian, a 23-year-old Chin Christian minister from Yangon, was forcibly conscripted. Under Myanmar law, religious leaders are exempt from military service. Local reports said Reverend Lian went missing on November the 30th and was later confirmed to be in military custody. Kachin and Chin states, both predominantly Christian regions, have faced repeated military attacks, including airstrikes on churches and civilian infrastructure, alongside internet blackouts and restrictions on worship. Christian Solidarity Worldwide's founder, President Mervyn Thomas, was quoted as saying, the actions represented a serious violation of freedom of religion and belief. Rights groups have urged the international community to condemn Myanmar's elections, warning they are being used to intensify persecution of religious minorities.
The long-standing and widely attended reenactment of the Passion, Death and Resurrection of Christ performed each Holy Week in the Iztapalapa district of Mexico City has been recognized by the UNESCO as a cultural heritage of humanity. This tradition is deeply rooted in the origins of the sacred image and a vow made by a local community in the 19th century. The long-standing Holy Week reenactment of the Passion, Death and Resurrection of Christ in Mexico City's Iztapalapa district has been officially recognized as a cultural heritage of humanity by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. The designation was approved during a UNESCO meeting held in New Delhi, India, where the nomination for the Iztapalapa Way of Cross was reviewed and endorsed. Addressing the gathering, Edeli Quiros, Deputy Director of Mexico Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, emphasized that the Holy Week observance in Iztapalapa goes beyond theatrical representation. She described it as a powerful expression of unity, faith, and resilience, uniting thousands in a shared act of memory, identity, and communal participation. UNESCO notes on its website that the cultural heritage list is dedicated to safeguarding practices, knowledge, and expressions that communities recognize as part of their cultural identity, underscoring the importance of preserving them for future generations. Juan Pablo Serrano, the custodian of the image of the Lord of the Little Cave at the Iztapalapa Cathedral, told ACI Prensa that the tradition is deeply rooted in the origins of the sacred image and a vow made to the local community in the 19th century. He explained that in 1687, the image of Christ was taken from Oaxaca to Mexico City for restoration. Along the way, those transporting it stopped to rest in a cave on a hill of the star. When they attempted to continue their journey, they found themselves unable to move the image. According to Serrano, this was interrupted as a sign that the image symbolizing Christ in the tomb was meant to remain in that place. From that moment, he said, a unique, enduring devotion centered on the cave began to take place. Serrano noted that the tradition's close association with the Stations of the Cross began in 1833 during a cholera outbreak. Confronted with a high mortality rate, the local community carried the image in procession, seeking Christ's intercession. After several days of prayer, the epidemic subsided, an outcome that was regarded as miraculous. In gratitude, the community vowed to reenact the passion, death, and resurrection of Christ every year. Over time, the tradition has grown in both participants and spectators, attracting around 2 million people during Holy Week 2025 alone. Serrano expressed his pride at the UNESCO recognition, describing it as something they would always celebrate with honor and pride. That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.